And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ann Vandersteel, and it is Monday. And today we're going to be going straight into one of the most consequential battles of our lifetime. If you're looking up, you're asking the question, hopefully, who owns the sky? That sounds like, I know, a philosophical question until you realize private companies, government-funded scientists, universities, global climate interests, and unelected technocrats are openly discussing ways to alter the atmosphere right above our heads. Yep, they're calling it climate intervention. They call it solar radiation management. They call it weather modification. They call it all research. I call it what it is. It's really a question of consent. Did you consent to anyone experimenting with the atmosphere over your home? Did your country consent? Did your state consent? Did the farmers, the ranchers, the pilots, the sheriffs, parents, doctors, property owners, did anybody consent to this? And that word, sheriff, I just said, well, it also matters tonight because later on in this broadcast, you're going to hear a pre-recorded interview I did last June 3rd with Sheriff Richard Mack. Sheriff Mack has spent decades teaching Americans about the constitutional role of the county sheriff, the limits of federal power, and the duty of local officials to protect those that they serve. He also has a new book out called The Democrat Murder of America, where he takes on political forces he believes are driving this country into lawlessness, centralized control, and constitutional collapse. And that fits directly into today's conversation because if our air, our water, our land, our property, our health, and our natural resources are being affected by unauthorized atmospheric manipulation, then the question is not only who is doing this, the question is also who has the lawful duty to stop it? Who protects the people when federal agencies look the other way? Who stands in the gap when bureaucracies hide behind silence? Who has the courage to say, not in my state, not my country, not over the heads of my people? That's why today's shows matter, because we're going to be connecting two battles that really are one. The battle against unchecked power. On one side, we had the legal fight against geoengineering, the fight to expose what's being done in the atmosphere, who's funding it, who's authorizing it, and what remedies exist. And on the other side, we have the constitutional role of local officials, especially sheriffs who still remember that their oath is not to a bureaucracy, not to a political party, not to a federal agency, but to the Constitution and to the people. Because if somebody's putting garbage, particles, aerosol, chemicals, metallic compounds, sulfur compounds, or any other material into the atmosphere for the purpose of changing sunlight, cloud cover, rainfall, temperature, or anything else, you and me, the American people, have the right to know. We have the right to know who's doing it, who's funding it, and what actually is being dispersed. And we have the right to know what legal authority they claim gives them permission. We also have the right to know what remedies exist when the sky, our soil, our water, the crops, our farm animals, and the people are effective. So today, it's not only about running around in circles screaming at the sky. Yeah, we are so far past that. I'm so done bitching about it. I want action. We're going to be moving from outrage into the evidence, and the evidence from there to legal action, and from legal action to a lawful remedy. And that's where this battle gets very serious, because there's several legal and lawful issues sitting right at the center of the geoengineering fight. We got disclosure. We need to know federal law has reporting requirements for weather modification activity, but those reporting laws appear to be weak, narrow, and filled with potential carve-outs. Reporting isn't prohibition, by the way. Small fine isn't really getting any kind of accountability. We see it all the time on Wall Street. They rip you off for billions and they get fined in the millions. Cost of doing business, I guess. A form filled with a federal agency doesn't protect people of Florida or any other state from unauthorized atmospheric manipulation. And there's the issue of federal preemption. Aviation is heavily regulated at the federal level, and that creates legal barriers when states try to act. But federal aviation regulation doesn't mean private corporations get a blank check to injure you, me, we the people, contaminate our environment, alternate, or I should say, change up our weather patterns, or hide behind any kind of like, oops, I don't know, I don't hear you, don't see anything. You know how it goes. And of course, there's our state sovereignty at stake. In Florida, where I sit, we have a duty to protect our people, our natural resources, our agriculture, water, air, and our beautiful scenic countryside. After all, we are the Sunshine State. We are not the sun state. And lately, it looks more like Seattle here. We're not even a laboratory state for sale. We are not the atmospheric sacrifice zone for the global climate engineers. This is an issue of public nuisance because if an activity is interfering with our right to clean air, natural sunlight, agricultural stability, water resources, property, public health, then we need to be asking whether that conduct can be treated as public nuisance and stop by an injunction. And fifth, we need proof. We need proof of all of this. We need to know where it came from, who funded it, who emitted it, who knew, who concealed it. We need to see the FOIA requests. We need atmospheric samples, analysis, expert witnesses, chain of custody, all of it, pilots, attorneys, anybody involved in this travesty. We need to know who they are because it's not just an environmental issue. It is an issue of the sovereignty of our state. Public health, property, food security, constitutional, and spiritual, because no man, no company, no agency, no university, billionaire, none of that, any foreign interests has the moral authority to play God with the sky. My first guest is attorney Blake Horowitz with the geofight.com. Blake is working with a legal team that is taking this battle out of the realm of speculation and into the realm of strategy. He has been studying the lawful pathways available to challenge geoengineering, including potential action involving commercial aviation, atmospheric contamination, and companies pursuing climate intervention technologies. One of the names you're going to hear tonight is Stardust. Stardust LLC has become a major focus because it represents the new face of climate intervention, private actors developing or promoting technologies that could impact the atmosphere on a massive scale. Blake has updates today on the strategy regarding Stardust, what citizens need to understand, and how the movement can begin, proving what is actually being dispersed in the atmosphere. So let's not just look up at the sky because we've got to test it. Let's document it. Joining me now is Blake Horowitz. Blake, it is great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. You can join me on this update because we were together a couple of weeks ago and stuff is still moving down the pipe in your world over at geofight.com with Nicole Pearson and Tom Renz. And I know you've got some exciting updates for us.
Yeah, well, first of all, that introduction was amazing. I'm not sure there's much I have to say. Your commentary on geoengineering and the rights and the interplay of all the rights, I mean, that was brilliant. To be honest with you, that was really good. So,
oh, well, thank you. But, again, you're the expert on the legal side because as you know, you and I have talked about this and it's mutual respect here. I look at everything through the sovereignty lens and you're looking at everything through the legal lens. And the legal lens really means you have to have evidence. You have to, you've got to have documents, you've got to have witnesses, and you've got to be able to prove what's going on. We can look up and we can see the lines in the sky. It's highly disturbing. But we are, using our flight tracker radar, trying to read, tail numbers on planes, make reports, but they're getting crafty. They're turning off transponders. They're doing other things. And we just still don't know who to go after. We want to wring somebody's neck, but we can't do anything. So help us lead us through the process of how we're going to get to that point.
Okay. Well, so let me break it down into two ways. First of all, we have a way of dealing with everything you just said, even if they're going to turn off the transponders. So we're going to be bringing some legal claims that are going to be very meaningful. And I don't want to talk about it too much yet before we actually do it. But it's not going to be our goal. We have a certainty that we're going to be bringing some legal claims. To be honest with you, a component to that, a condition of that as well will be to receive funding in order to support such a claim, because we're going up against the largest entities, the billionaires that are truly controlling the skies. So there's a specific batch of claims that we're going to be filing, and we're preparing for that now. But the central focus, I think, for today, which is something you said, which relates to a company called Stardust Solutions. So Stardust Solutions is, let's kind of break it down. It's a private company. It's an Israeli-U.S. company. It's domiciled here in the United States, meaning they're incorporated here in the United States, and they're a private company. And what this private company wants to do, a company with shareholders, right? A company that has $75 million of present investment. What they want to do is they want to put contaminant matter up into the sky for the purpose of reducing the amount of sun that the Earth receives. So their idea is that we're going to block the sun, reduce the sun's rays from reaching the Earth. A private corporation is going to do this, a private corporation with a duty to its investors, right? It wants to receive up to $10 billion from governments paying them in order to do this, with the stated purpose of reducing the Earth's temperature. So a private company, not a governmental organization, even if it were a government, we wouldn't trust it. But a private company now is saying, give us your airspace. It's the craziest possible concept known to man. It's biblical and it's outrageous. So to put it in other perspective, can we think of a large corporation that has engaged in this worldwide activity that has been trustworthy? Are we okay with what Pfizer did, Johnson & Johnson? Are we okay with the rollout for the vaccine? I mean, are we okay with any major organization seeking to have control over the world or a country? No, we don't. And now what they want and what they are presently doing right now today is they're lobbying Congress, the United States Congress, for the purpose of trying to get access to our skies. Congress, write me a check. What we want to do is put up industrial sites all over the world, and for the purpose of launching into the stratosphere, into the upper atmosphere, a bunch of contaminants that will stop the sun's rays or reduce the sun's rays from hitting the earth. So it's not just that. It's not just that we don't trust a private corporation and whatnot. The issue is that their conduct, their actions could be scientifically catastrophic for the world. It's not worthwhile to have this a dice roll, which is what is going on here. And the reason for that is if there's another natural disaster that occurs contemporaneous with this, so forget about what they want to put up in the air. Forget about it's a private corporation. Forget about they have a duty to their shareholders and not to the people of the world, right? To earn money from the corporations. Forget about all that. But they want to reduce the Earth's temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius. And they talk about it in terms of Celsius. In the States, obviously, we talk about it in terms of Fahrenheit, which is about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, if I remember correctly. So if they do that, and at the same time, there is a natural disaster, which also causes a reduction in the Earth's temperature, right? And a natural disaster can be a volcano. There are many, many, many active volcanoes in the world right now. And there have been many volcanoes that when they erupt, they cause the same kind of atmospheric change, meaning an atmospheric change that reduces the sun's rays onto the earth as Stardust wants to do. So it's not uncommon naturally for this to occur with volcanic eruptions, okay? A volcanic eruption can cause a reduction in Earth's temperature, in the global temperature, by another 1 degree Celsius. I would challenge anybody who's watching your show, at the end of the show, please plug into any internet service, Google it, whatever you want, and ask the question, what happens if the Earth's temperature is reduced by 2.5 degrees Celsius? In other words, Stardust wants to do 1.5. If there's a volcanic eruption like what you see there, which is what's happening here, is that's demonstrating that the particulate matter, the stuff from the volcano, goes high, extremely high up into the atmosphere, and it stays there for years. So I would like everybody to ask AI, Google, or whoever they want, what happens? And there you go. You did it right there. The answer is it's a catastrophic change in the climate of the world. And with a cataclysmic change in the climate of the world, there's a profound change in agriculture. Crops will not grow. There you have right there. Agricultural devastation. You have it right here.
Right.
Crops will not grow the same. And consequently, people will die.
Yes.
And it could be up to 1 billion people. So we are putting into the hands of a corporation that is presently funded at $75 million and is seeking billions of dollars from either the United States and or other countries to collectively place this contaminant into the atmosphere and reduce the world's temperature, ignoring and never discussing the fact that when they do this, there can be a contemporaneous, unpredicted, uncontrollable volcanic eruption, and there's been plenty of these in our history, that will forever change the Earth. And that's the reality.
This is really terrifying, Blake, when you think about it, because, we know from what we believe from science, and I have to put a caveat on this because we're relearning history right now for the truth of what really happened versus the textbook variety that we've been fed for 100 years. But I digress. It looks like the dinosaurs were wiped out when an asteroid hit and sent the Earth into an ice age. I mean, that's what the geological explanation is and has been for a long time. Maybe it's something else, but the thought we've seen, what was it, Mount Vesuvius that wiped out civilization when it erupted, 1,000 years ago or something. So this is not an uncommon thing. We have volcanoes that are active all over the world right now. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which runs, right past me here in Florida, goes all the way to Iceland. That's an active volcano zone, not necessarily down here, but we had earthquakes. Believe it or not, we had little shakes every now and then. This is just plate tectonics. This is Earth. It's an alive planet. And so the thought that we could get another massive volcanic eruption to, spew stuff into the atmosphere is not far-fetched at all. And the fact that these guys, a private corporation, an Israeli-American company, built and should we say housed and registered in Delaware, where they could try to remain anonymous, is now lobbying Congress. I'm wondering if they're working with AIPAC to lobby Congress to try and get people to come on board with this, because I don't see the benefit in any of this. And I'm looking for a lifeline to help me understand why any of this is good for us, because from where I'm sitting in Florida, we don't even get a thunderstorm anymore. That hasn't happened in a couple of years. That is just unbelievably remarkable. We always could set our watches by an afternoon thunderstorm. Now we never see them.
Yeah, well, the issue regarding, weather modification and global weather change would be kind of a lengthy discussion for perhaps another day. The issue regarding Stardust, it's clearly a clear and present danger. It's almost like there's so much occurring right now, as you know, and I'm sure you've discussed in other shows, that let's just bombard everybody with so much so that their brains can't handle it. People can't keep it into their short-term memory, and they'd rather just look at their phones and find a way to get out of this nightmare, the thinking about these things. I don't like thinking about these things. I actually hate it, but I have chosen to focus on this and dedicate myself to this. In fact, we have at the Geo Fight, we put together a petition that is specifically designed to have everybody in the world sign, and for us to, starting with the U.S. Congress and Senate, for them to see that the world and the United States citizens, they object to this activity. Meaning, people can go, and you can see here, you're almost there to our website, but there is on the first page of our website, they can click and go to the petition. So for this here, you'd have to go to the first page. I think you're in kind of another part of the website.
There we go. Sorry.
No problem. The red ribbon.
Yeah.
And there, people can click, first read the petition and what it's about, and it's basically a summary of what I've said. And then you click and please click and give us your email address and whatnot, and your name and the state that you're from, and then we can submit it to the state legislatures for each and every state. So here's how this works. People say, well, it's just a petition, who really cares? That's not true at all. This is a petition where when members of local legislatures are running for Congress, running for office, they will ask themselves the question, well, does anybody care about the Stardust stuff? Yeah, there's actually 100,000 people for your particular state that care, and they don't want it. So did you want to vote against having geoengineering in your state, or do you want to vote in favor of it? Did Stardust or any other lobbyist to help, promise anything to you, or, what's going on? So at the end of the day, the goal is to notify people, notify the legislatures from various states, and ultimately the U.S. Congress and Senate, let them know that people care, and people have to care. This video, our conversation right now, has to matter, and this conversation has to go around to everyone. They have to see what's going on, because this is not just another thing to worry about. It's not just another thing that you hear it and then you click and you move on. It has to be something that people can focus on and literally just for 5 or 15 minutes and think about and concentrate on and understand, because This is a game changer right here. And 5 years from now, if they put their contaminants into the air, 5 years from now, we could have a profoundly different world, a world that if you're watching this video, you would say to yourself, damn, I wish I would have done something. I wish I would have done at least something.
Right.
And so we provide that something.
Well, I got to tell you, Blake, what you guys have been, I remember when Tom Renz talked to me about this months ago, because he saw me posting videos, just, furious that this is going on, because I'm very much a person that needs sun. And when I go through 2 or 3 days with cloud cover like Seattle, I don't know how people live up there. I get moody. I'm not actually the nicest person to be around. Ask my husband. But anyway, it is a thing, seasonal affective disorder. I need the sun. That's why I live here. They have really mucked it up down here. And, Floridians are outraged. We are furious and outraged about what's happening. And the fact that people have felt powerless, I can't tell you how many thousands of people, and what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I see this as a multi-pronged attack. We don't know all the players involved in this. I think your team is narrowing in on some, and clearly Stardust is proudly advertising that this is what they want to do. I mean, it's as if they're gaslighting us by putting it out there like this. It's really outrageous because right now we don't get any real sense of who's doing what up there. That, setting all that aside, we need a solution, and they've waged 5th generation warfare on us. We've got to come back at them, and we need a strong legal team to go and do this work. I mean, this to me is bigger than the tobacco lawsuits. You remember that, the Philip Morris lawsuit? This is bigger than that, because Philip Morris, there wasn't everybody smoking cigarettes, but everybody's under the sky. So we're all impacted. This is a bigger threat to our health and our national security than cigarette smoking. And you guys are taking this on. And I don't think people can really comprehend just how massive what it is you're trying to do.
Well, I think that, if you consider your introduction, it is we the people, right? So we the people have to do something about it. And we do provide an opportunity for we the people to sign. And there's a we in our petition. It's about us.
Right.
And it's about us in the United States, in each and every state, and it's about us throughout the world. Because each country really needs to attend to what's going on. For example, if Stardust wants to use a weaker country, like some other country in Africa, for example, that doesn't have a very strong government, they can launch, and just like you saw that one volcano is in a select place at a select time on Earth, right? In one country or state or in the ocean somewhere. And all they need is one government to allow it, or a weak government that doesn't have a lot of, strength over its people and whatnot.
Right.
And there's plenty of those. So this message really needs to get out, and it needs to get out with clarity. So I want to say so that's with regards to Stardust. I want to say with regards to you not receiving sunlight in Florida, we do have an answer for that. We do have an answer for that. And so
can you share a little bit of the answer?
No, that will be the subject matter of future litigation. And I'm not going to let our adversaries know what that future litigation has in store. But we do have an answer for that. At least it's something that is what we call a cognizable legal theory. It's a legitimate claim, and we plan on going forward with that legitimate claim. But we do need people's assistance. We are going against the biggest and the strongest and the most difficult. So again, we the people, people need to take action. We need you to go to our website, and we need you to attend to what we're up to, because we're not playing around, right? Anybody can look at my record in terms of litigation, and they can see I've been a federal practitioner for 30 years. This was not my field. It's environmental field, basically. But I've chosen to get into this, and Nicole Pearson has been a strong fighter on behalf of people in the COVID space and in the vaccine space. And Tom Renz, everybody knows, has been somebody who's put his life on the line on many occasions for so many health freedom issues. So we're here, and there is an answer, but Floridians need to move just like they moved with regards to the hurricane issue that related to the statute, the felony statute being forth as to geoengineering, and they need to move. People need to take action.
Blake, you have now brought my kitty cat back into the studio. You can sense my distress. I'm
sorry. I just don't know what else, I don't like being clickbait, and I don't like
It's not. I'm trying to make a joke in a very serious situation because it is very distressing. And again, people don't seem to really comprehend just how important this whole situation is, this what you're doing. They don't understand the magnitude of going up against Goliaths. There's multiple people involved here. We just named one company, but there are many more companies, and there's a broad network of them. And then there's the military side of it. There's the side that we know about and the side that we don't know about. And so this isn't just, oh, we're suing this one little company, Stardust. No. And I don't think Stardust is one little company. I'm sure they're very well funded and they've got other funding coming in. So it's going to be a massive fight. It's the David versus Goliath here. I really contend, and I submit to you and Tom and Nicole, the fight you're taking on is bigger than the Philip Morris lawsuit that eventually the plaintiffs won. But it was, how long did the Philip Morris lawsuit go on for? It had to be a decade or more. It was huge to take down, the biggest industry, cigarette smoking at the time, where they made it sexy and cool. And it started up with doctors telling you, smoking cigarettes and all this. It was nuts. But people got cancer and they died. And we don't know all the stuff that they're spraying in the atmosphere. We're starting to figure some of it out, but none of it's good. None of it belongs inhaled in our bodies. That's for sure. And it certainly doesn't need to go across the blood-brain barrier and sit up here. And no wonder dementia is going off the rails. I mean, there's just so much stress in the atmosphere, and you compound that with the electromagnetic frequency of 5G, et cetera, and we're going to go to 6G. Who knows what they're going to be conjuring with this? So it's a really serious fight. And again, God put us on the planet. I'm going to get a little religious here, but he said all man is to be free. Now we fight amongst each other because we have, we're retarded in so many levels, and there's an industry behind making sure we do it. But this is next level evil. I mean, next level evil, what's going on?
Right. The other thing I think to take into consideration is that Stardust has just come out with what they're up to about 3 weeks ago. So let's see, today is June 7th, and it's about 3 weeks ago they came out. Their plans to do this were going on for quite a while. So let's think about, intelligently, like what's really going on. If you looked at the internet, let's say a month ago, okay, you would be, and you looked up chemtrails, then it would say conspiracy theory. And if you looked up geoengineering, it would say something along the lines of, well, a lot of people are researching it and nothing definitive. Now, 3 weeks ago, again, attending to the fact today's June 7th, 3 weeks ago, there wasn't a company saying, we're going to come out and we're going to change the earth. That wasn't going on. This right now is like a surprise attack, a surprise front. And the fact that they're coming out now, they're invested at $75 million and they're looking for 10 billion. Logic wouldn't tell you, oh, well, yeah, they're just kind of trying to see what's going on and maybe they'll be successful, maybe they won't, sort of thing. They have to have had things in the works for somebody to be willing to, or companies to be willing to, people to be willing to invest 75 million into them. They have to have demonstrated that there's a return on this investment. And unfortunately, I'm talking about it as a return on an investment, but that is what happens with companies. Yeah. Companies get investors and then the investors get paid back. So they had to have said something to their investors, which would suggest that there's a return on this investment. And to be clear, they're not the only company. There's other companies that are coming out right now, as you know, and that are coming out right now. And the sky is now going to be, the stock market. It's a form of investment. It's an economy, and it's not what God intended. And we're running into a little nightmare. So people need to pay attention. And this should not be just a clickbait moment. This is, people need to attend to what's going on and watch and participate. And so we're leading this fight, and hopefully once we show the pathway, and we have a pathway, once we show the pathway, we're hoping other lawyers will jump in, get some cojones and move forward, because that's what's needed.
Okay, so let's talk about how folks can support you, because this is like you said, it's a big operation and you're going up against Goliath, and we need to give you the support that you're needed. So whether they're going to county meetings, city meetings, state meetings, federal meetings, the fight goes on, and attorneys and litigation and, getting documents, preparing briefs, traveling all over the place, it all costs money. So what do you need in terms of support?
Well, there's a couple things we have going on. First is, I noticed that you're at the donation page, and people at any walk of life can just donate whatever they can, right? So if a lot of people donate, it demonstrates a number of things. The first is it demonstrates that people are involved, and by being involved, that matters, right? Just it matters to the politicians to know how many individuals have donated. And then for those that can donate more, we actually have a meeting coming up where if you join us, then you'll be receiving some literature about a meeting we have coming up whereby we're going to be informing more specifically about what our legal strategy is going to be. So that's for people that donate a pretty significant amount of money. And at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to get sufficient funds in order to be able to litigate against, as you said, the Goliath. And this Goliath, like the story from the Bible, is a big deal and needs to be tackled. And we're here to do that.
Great. Well, honestly, thank you. I mean, you're kind of leaving, I don't want to say you're leaving the world behind, but you're leaving, a thriving practice behind to focus on this fight singularly. And it's a big deal to make that shift, because, just ask any of the J6ers what it was like to go up against the government. Many of them couldn't. They pled and they didn't do anything wrong. And they were labeled, insurrectionists and traitors to the country, and fortunately got pardoned. But this is what we're talking about. You're taking on an industry. And let's be clear, Larry Fink and BlackRock are all too happy to tokenize all of this and sell all of it and trade it on the market. And like you said, they're turning the sky into an industry. So now we can't, go out and get sun. And we now know vitamin D was a big help in alleviating symptoms of COVID, just like it's part of your immune system. What we've learned from, many people out there Jack Cruz, for instance, talking about sunlight. It's really important to modulate everything in our bodies, not just human beings, our cattle, our fish, our birds, everything that's on planet Earth. God had a grand design and they're messing with it. They're playing God. So I'm very grateful for the work you're doing. Blake, thank you so much. Give my best to Tom and Nicole when you see them, because you've got two other amazing attorneys that are really just stepping up to the plate in a big way, and it's much appreciated. And I would encourage anybody and everybody to go to the geofight.com. Please go to their website and donate. There's a donate button right on the website at thegeofight.com. $5, $10, 500, 5,000, whatever you can. This isn't for them to joy around the country. This is so that they can actually get something done and start labeling who's doing this to us. Because once we know, there's things we can do when we actually have names and faces. And I'm not talking about physical violence. I'm talking about naming and shaming and using what we can with our sovereignty of our voice to go out and make sure that, they're not comfortable walking around in public anymore. You don't see Fauci walking around so proudly in downtown LA, because you know what? Nobody likes him. Nobody likes Fauci. So I want nobody to like any of these people, let alone the Stardust people. I hope they get right with God and come to Jesus and quit what they're doing. Blake Horowitz, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow, that is pretty terrifying when you think about it, folks. The fact that we don't have control of what's going in our skies. That is something we all need to pay attention, look up. And if you know it and you see someone in the car next to you and the window's down, hey, man, do you see what's going on up there? Because that ain't right. Let's take a temperature check everywhere we're going. Coming up, I've got my interview with Sheriff Richard Mack. I have, we pre-recorded this last week because of just scheduling, but Sheriff Mack has actually spent decades teaching Americans about the constitutional role of the county sheriff, the limits of federal power, and the duty of local officials to protect the people they serve. We're even going to touch on what happened with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago when the FBI raided him. That conversation fits directly into what we were just discussing here with Blake Horowitz, because whether the issue is federal overreach, unconstitutional mandates, weaponized agencies, or unauthorized activity affecting our air, land, water, and property, the question is always the same. Who protects the people when the government refuses to do its job? Who stands in the gap when the agencies hide behind silence? And who has the lawful authority to say, not in my county? That's why I wanted to bring Sheriff Mack into this broadcasting, because the geoengineering battle cannot be fought only in Washington, D.C. It's got to be fought in the states, in the counties, in the courts, and by you, the citizens who understand your rights, and that local officials need to remember their oath. So stay with us, because right after this quick commercial, we have Sheriff Mack coming up. Be right back. Hey everybody, Ann Vandersteel with American Made Foundation. I really need your support. Our organization is fighting the beast system of child protective services. We are fighting it on a number of fronts, including the state of Massachusetts, the state of Florida, the state of North Carolina, and others. We have cases that we're putting into state and federal lawsuits. And in addition to that, we're also writing legislation for several states. We have submitted our legislation to Senator Don Gates' office. He is the president of the Florida State Senate. We're working with his team and others around the country right now to eliminate Department of Children and Families, or CPS as it's known in various agencies around the country. That funding is coming out of your tax dollars, but we need your help, tax-free help, to actually combat this beast system. So please go to AmericanMadeFoundation.org, where you can make a tax-free donation to help us fight the beast system. We've done documentaries on it. You'll find it at our website as well. Go ahead, head on over to AmericanMadeFoundation.org, click on the donate button, and watch our latest movie, Taken, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping, while you're there. Get enlightened as to how bad this process is. It's all about basically depriving you of your familial due process rights. God bless you, and God bless America.
Food security or food sovereignty. Every time we buy food, we choose. Glyphosate exposure is exploding, and people are asking, why is food so expensive? This is why we do what we do. Organic fields, thriving orchards, the purest ingredients straight from the earth. From our farms to your family, we do the testing so you don't have to. You save time, you save money, and our regenerative farms continue to grow. It's time to remove what does not belong. Rebuild with cleaner inputs. Support the farmers with the future in mind. This isn't a trend. It's a shift. We still have a voice. We still have a choice. To vote with our dollars for a healthier America today. Tap the link.
Are you ready to take your health back? At vandersteelhealth.com, I trust Purium's powerful superfoods to fuel my body with clean, plant-based nutrition. And in a world filled with toxins, Biomedic is designed to help support your body's natural detox process, even from glyphosate exposure. Real nutrition, targeted support, no junk. Go to vandersteelhealth.com and take control of your health today. America is at a breaking point. We are watching a nation founded on God-given rights, local self-government, constitutional law, and moral courage come under attack from within. The corruption is no longer subtle. The border has been wide open. We're still fighting back on just extricating ourselves out of that mess. And families are under assault. Law enforcement is being politicized. Children have been targeted and continue to do so. The Constitution is treated as optional by the very people sworn to defend it. I'm joined by Sheriff Richard Mack, a man who I've known for quite some time and appreciate the work that he's done. He's a real stalwart constitutionalist. He has spent decades defending the constitutional role of the sheriff and educating Americans about the duty of local officials to stand between the people and unlawful government overreach. Sheriff Mack has a powerful new book, The Democrat Murder of America. And while the title is bold, the mission is peaceful, it's practical, and it is urgently needed. This isn't a call for you to just throw your hands in the air. It is a call for Americans to stand together, reclaim truth, restore local authority, and defend the values that made this nation strong. Sheriff Mack, always good to see you. Thank you for being here and joining us today. I'm really glad that you put this book out with a good friend of mine I've known from way back in the day, Dan Perkins.
Have you known Dan longer than you've known me?
I have, believe it or not. I've known him longer than I've known you. Shocking, I know.
Well, I'm really glad to know that because we've never talked about you yet, but we're sure going to.
Oh boy,
And,
oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was really surprised about how he and I got together at all.
how did you get together?
I never knew him, but I guess he did a podcast about 7-8 months ago, and I was on it. And he, during the interview, he asked me if I had written any books. And I said, yeah, I've written about 8 books. And I said, they're all nonfiction. I said, I did write one novel, The Naked Spy, and it's a great novel. But if I ever got the time and if I could retire and just focus on a couple of things, I would try to make that a movie.
Okay.
But
wow,
that's not why I'm with the freedom movement and the Constitution restoration and constitutional sheriffs. I've dedicated my life to that. My wife and I dedicated our lives to this. And so I'm not going to deviate from that unless some other miracle happens. And we've had lots of miracles in our lives, as you know, and I could make we could do a great show sometime just going through the miracles that have happened to me and my wife and my family and this movement.
Well,
but
we're going to do that sometime. We are going to do that.
Yeah,
but I really
think it would be a great show. But
I'm sure it would be. I'm sure it would be. But we're here to talk about this book because it has a very provocative.
Yeah, well, let me
title.
tell you what he told me. He says, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to send you a Zoom link, and I want to see some of your books. I want you to show me your books.
Okay.
So I did that, and he said right after that, he goes, I want to write a book with you, and I've already got what it's about. And he told me what it's about. The Democrat and Republican narrative, and mostly the Democrat. I've said this all along, and you've heard me say this. I don't like both parties, and I think both are quite corrupt. But I think the Democrats are 10 times worse than the Republicans. And so many times I voted for the lesser of two evils, and we've done that for decades. Right. And I've done it. Once I voted for a third party guy that I totally loved. That was Howard. He was. I think he's a Constitution Party candidate. He might have been both.
Yeah. What was his first name? Ron? No, I can't remember. I remember that. It was a while ago.
I can't remember his name either. It's been a long time. It was back in the 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a long time. It was like 30 years ago or something, right?
Yeah. And so anyway, we decided to write this book. I came up with the title, and then my editor.
So wait, why that title, and what do you want Americans to understand before they judge the book just by its cover?
Right. Well, it's a tremendous cover. It tells you what it's about. Mm-hmm. Primarily because of what you and I are sick and tired of. And that's the complete and utter corruption, just like you said in your monologue. We keep seeing all of this happen. We know that the corruption is bold in our face. They don't even try to hide it anymore.
No.
And so the Democrat Party is in bed with the national media, and between the two of them, they are controlling our lives. We have turned over our free government, our God-given government, to the Democrats and Republicans. And the Republicans have done everything in their power to destroy America and murder. They will lie, cheat, steal, and yes, murder. I'm not talking about they're just murdering the principles of liberty that our country is founded on. Yes, they're doing that. You alluded to that too. They are. But these people are so obsessed with power and greed that they're willing to sacrifice America to get there. And I'm tired of it. And this book was to expose what they're doing. But if you read the epilogue, and I
haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
For all of you conservatives who know, just like I do, and I'm sure you do too, either family or friends that are staunch Democrats, but they're decent people.
Right.
They're decent people. And get them a book and then tell them to read the epilogue first, the last chapter, because they'll see the solution first and they'll know what we're trying for.
It's said that this book offers a peaceful and practical path forward.
Yes.
Tell us what exactly that path looks like for an everyday American who's actually feeling very overwhelmed by the corruption, the media lies, and all the political division we have going on right now.
It's in your hand.
Okay.
It's in my hand. And I want to reach out to Democrats and others in our country, and I want to take them by the hand, and I want them to take me by the hand, as we from the right and everybody from the left come together in the middle and find solutions that we all agree on, and we take back our country, and we restore the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. A lot of those people have bought into the propaganda brainwashing that the Constitution doesn't apply to us anymore because we're so much smarter than those racist founding father white guys.
Right.
And no, folks, this was the greatest Constitution in world history. It was the greatest government in world history, and it protected what God gave us when we were born.
Right.
And that is our individual liberty. First greatest gift from God was life. The next one was the power to choose for ourselves. And there's a chapter about that. It's called Free Will. And you see, the problem, folks, is communism and socialism are the antithesis of free will.
That's right.
You can't have free will and sit there and say, but we can steal everything from the millionaires and billionaires, and because, like stupid AOC said, they couldn't have got it legally. Well, how about all her friends? How about Michael Jordan? He's a billionaire.
Right.
How about Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and all these other mega rich billionaires from whatever? They didn't cheat. They were talented, and they took all the money they could and made all these records. And you know what? I don't like too many of them, to be honest. I don't really like them that much. I don't think they're very good people. But they owe me nothing. They owe you nothing.
Right. They
did this on their own. And AOC wants to tell every successful person, you cheated. You lied. The people that are lying are AOC and all of Congress just about. You know, I feel like Abraham dealing with the Lord saying, if I find just 50 good people in Sodom and Gomorrah, will you spare them? And he gets down to 10. And I feel like that way too right now. Lord, if I could find just 10 good people in Congress, would you spare Washington, D.C.?
Right.
I don't think there's 10. I really don't.
I agree. You know, many Americans know a lot of the pieces of the Democrat Party history, right? Slavery, Jim Crow, the KKK, segregation.
We have a chapter about that. We have a chapter, the history of the Democrat Party. And that's
right. But Americans haven't connected these dots to the present day. So what historical through line do you lay out in the book to help Americans connect those dots?
We do. The through line was FDR. Okay. He was the one that kind of changed it, but he was a racist too. I mean, that's in the book. Because, but he was the first one that made the real bold move because of the Great Depression. Of course, he came up with the New Deal, which was all socialism, and people were hungry and people were wanting help. And of course, a good politician is going to try to take care of everybody.
Right.
And so he did. So he created federal jobs, federal work jobs like Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam was a huge project. And the federal government hired a bunch of people to do the Hoover Dam. Oh, they did a bunch of others too. And they did the bread lines and blah, blah, blah. But this is the thing. This is where we got hooked. And especially the Black community. Because the Black community were totally Republican. Who freed the slaves?
Correct, the Republicans, right.
Yeah. Who was against Jim Crow laws? The Republicans. Who was pro civil rights? The Republicans.
Right.
Who formed the KKK? The Democrats. Who were a bunch of racists? The Democrats. So how did that, like you called it, how did that change from that? And what was the through line? And it started with FDR. And I've even talked about, did my research there with some very staunch conservative Black people. And I got their opinions about that. Almost every one of them said FDR.
Very interesting, because you also argue that this isn't really a left versus right, but it's more about truth versus the propaganda
Right.
Where have Republicans failed to confront this honestly? Because you just laid out a case that, Black people historically were Republican and for a whole variety of reasons. And somehow it has switched.
It switched.
The psychological operation has been in full force for quite some time, thanks to our CIA and just the intelligence community in general, whether it's domestic or foreign. There's a lot of manipulation happening right now. So why and where have the Republicans failed to confront this?
Well, they didn't see it coming is one problem. And then now they still have a problem. Are the Republicans right now letting everyone know all the subterfuge and dishonesty and evilness of the Democrat Party? I don't think they are. They're acting like, oh, well, the commentaries and well, the Democrats just don't really have anything to run on. Are they explaining what the Democrats have really done to our country? Have they? If you vote for a Democrat, you're voting for more open borders. If you're voting for more open borders, you're voting for more what? Yes, sexual exploitation of children, sexual slavery markets for children worldwide. That's what you're voting for. You're voting for more terrorists to come into our country and the sleeper cells that are here. Have you seen some of the sleeper cells lately, folks? The Republicans aren't talking this up. They're not explaining this. And sometimes I wonder if the Republicans say, well, we can't expose too much because, well, if we do, they'll expose our stuff, Sure. I don't know why the Republicans are such mamby-pamby, but I don't care. We focus 85, 90% on the Democrats on this round.
All right.
And something that Dan and I said, there's going to be new stuff every day that we're going to want to include in the book. And that is happening every day. Yes.
Always is. AOC only has to step up to the mic. Schumer only has to step up to the mic, et cetera, et
or
cetera.
This guy in Maine.
Or the guy in Maine.
Oh, good. And what did the Democrats do? Oh, we're behind him all the way.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were against racism.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
I thought you were against Nazis and insignias. And this guy, I've been a real horrible guy, but I think I'll do a good job in Senate. He's never done a good job in anything else, but he'll be a good job in Senate. This is how utterly, utterly ridiculous, and this is the epitome of the kind of evil that we're trying to stand against and that we point out in the book. And I really want to focus to what you said. Folks, the book talks about a hand-in-hand, peaceful and effective solution.
Okay, so let's talk about constitutional sheriffs, because you've long said that basically the county sheriff is one of America's most important constitutional offices. Why is the sheriff so central to protecting our freedom as given to us by God and protected and defended through our Bill of Rights and our Constitution?
Because he promised to do that. The sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer anywhere in the county, anywhere in the country. Very few exceptions to that. One is that there's 3 states that don't even have sheriffs. Okay. Alaska and Hawaii never established the office. And I don't know why they did that, because the sheriff was the oldest law enforcement officer in the United States.
Of course.
There were sheriffs before there was 13 colonies. Okay. Right. Oliver Wolcott was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and before that, he was a sheriff. And I think there was a couple others. But the real purpose here is to find a people's protector who answers directly to the people and that are there by the consent of the governed, as the Declaration of Independence says. And that's what's key about this. We, the people, bestow all power and authority to our government officials, and we do that directly to the sheriff, who made a promise to us when he took his job that he would uphold, defend, protect, and preserve our God-given rights as detailed in the Constitution.
So what should a constitutional sheriff do when the state or the federal officials issue orders that violate the Constitution?
He tells them he's not going to enforce them, and he tells them that they won't be allowed in his county to come in and enforce them going around him.
Okay.
Which is all that's proven in probably the best book in the country until my new one came up. But this really is the Supreme Court case.
Right.
It's proven in here. And Scalia takes us through a history lesson in this and bears that out. And he calls, this is a Supreme Court case that calls us, the sheriffs that did this lawsuit, he calls us the CLEOs, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer.
Nice.
And we are. And so if you want to see it documented somewhere, look at the Brady bill that we sued. It calls us the CLEOs in there. And then Scalia calls us the CLEOs as well.
So Sheriff Rick Bradshaw is the sheriff of Palm Beach County. He was the sheriff when President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate was raided. Was that lawful? Could the sheriff have stood up and prevented that from happening, or did he just step aside and let it go down?
He should have been involved from the get-go, and he should have said, look, I just got to look this over real quick, okay? And we'll go with you guys, but I got to see if this is all copacetic first.
Right.
And then he comes up with this, he sees something, you know what, you guys? This has happened a lot, and I really don't think you need a SWAT team here and all these officers here.
Yeah.
I don't want this in my county, and I don't see where you really have jurisdiction over me on this, and I'm just not going to allow this one this time. And you guys should have sat down with me before this, because first of all, I am the CLEO of this county. I'm
Right.
the sheriff here. I represent all the people in this county. And I really want to work with you guys when you have proper jurisdiction, but this one isn't going to fly. And I need some time to run this past my legal advisor. So let's talk in a few days. And if you want to come back then, nothing's going to leave. All this paperwork's going to stay there. But I'm really fearful that this is just another attack on Trump, and that you're weaponizing government against him again. And it's not going to happen in my county. So
what would you say to the sheriffs across America then who knew something was wrong? They know something's wrong, but they're too afraid to speak out. I can't tell you if Rick Bradshaw knew something was wrong or not, but I can agree with your position on how he should have handled it. So what do you tell the sheriffs that are just too afraid to sort of speak up?
Well, you can't teach courage, you know, and I believe that most of these sheriffs are good people. But when I did a tour in Minnesota 2.5 years ago, I made 10 stops in 11 days. And I had some friends who were sheriffs there. One of them came out here to Arizona and took me to dinner on a vacation about 5 years ago. And I called him and I said, hey, Sheriff, I'm doing a tour. I think you've heard about it. Yeah, we've heard. And I said, I just need you to put it out to all the sheriffs where I'm going to be and what day. Here's my schedule. He goes, well, we've talked it over, a few sheriffs, and none of us are coming. I go, come on. I said, what do you mean you're not coming? Come on. And he goes, yeah, all these attacks that you've had recently and that organization that put you in the paper and they told the attorney general. And I said, you're worried about Ellison? You're worried about corrupt Ellison? And he goes, yeah, a little bit. And I said, so you know the things that they said about me are a pack of lies. He goes, oh, yeah, we know. We know they're all lies. But we don't want them lying about us. And we want to get reelected. And I said, you really are kidding me here, right? You're willing to compromise the freedom of the people that you serve, that are your constituents and your boss.
Right.
And you're willing to compromise that to make sure that you keep your retirement and your job. And he didn't say anything. And he and others. So out of about 87 sheriffs, two showed up to one of the events.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible.
And you say, and so how can I counter that?
It's a sad testimony to the position of people today. And it brings me to this point, because this book's not only political, it's very much a script on morality. How do you see the attack on faith, family, and parental rights fitting into the larger destruction of America, Sheriff Mack?
Well, we talk about the parental rights thing in the book, but there's also something else too. that the Democrat Party, and this is another thing that really needs to be blasted out there, is the Democrat Party supporting the rights of women to play sports? No, quite the contrary. And I played sports, playing football, basketball, and baseball through high school and a little bit in college made me who I am. It taught me teamwork. It taught me when to keep the ball and when to pass the ball. It taught me self-sacrifice. It taught me to play as a team. And this is what kids, I would always encourage kids to play sports. My granddaughter played volleyball. My other granddaughter played tennis. We would never miss one of their games or matches. I've had grandsons playing sports. I just absolutely love it. And I hate the ones that the parents that get too involved and get violent. That's not what this is about. But this is the thing. The Democrat Party is destroying that to play to 2% of our entire population.
It's insane.
It is.
It's totally
insane.
insane.
That's in the chapter called Democrat Insanity. And so, folks, look, you've got to see this. But why aren't the Republicans pushing this?
Because it's a uniparty, Sheriff Mack. It's a uniparty.
Well, in some cases it is. And when I go through the uniparty stuff, it's pretty serious. But it ends abruptly. It ends abruptly after about 3 or 4 things. You know, first of all, both parties support funding Planned Parenthood. The Democrat Party's worse. They're worse.
They believe
both
in
parties support
basically
the IRS existing, that the IRS exists. Democrats do it the most, but the
Democrats believe in aborting their future out of existence. They want to abort their future out of existence, which is kind of an interesting philosophy. If they continue to do so, there might not be any Democrats left. And then we might have solved the problem, but in a very horrific way, because that child isn't born a Democrat or a Republican.
Well, but that's another solution there, and a peaceful one. We've got to start this, and that is because we do Washington's farewell address. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Yes, it's so spiritual.
No foreign entanglements.
and so he warned us about the two-party system or parties. He warned us. We've got to get rid of the parties. They're not part of government.
Nope.
They're not in our Constitution.
Nope.
And we've got to do a signature referendum nationwide and get rid of the parties.
Yeah, I agree with you. We shouldn't have any parties. It should be straight up issues. Straight issues. You know, there was a quote that stood out to me that says the book offers a peaceful and practical path forward. Can you give me 3 practical steps that Americans can take right now?
One of them is reject your party. Reject your party. I'm not going to tell you to switch parties. I'm going to tell you to reject your party and be a registered independent. And that's probably not going to get to where to me, that's kind of pie in the sky, you know, but it is a peaceful and effective solution. And we've got to recognize the problem with party politics. Partisan politics is really part of the huge overall backdrop problem here. The other one is we've got to be humble enough and courageous enough to work with each other.
Right.
And then finally, we've all got to become constitutionalists.
Right.
We've got to know and understand the Constitution. If you think the Constitution's too long, which it's not, just study and memorize the Bill of Rights. You don't have to do it word for word. Okay. For instance, the First Amendment of the Constitution, what 5 principles of liberty does it cover? Know all 5. That's easy. Okay. Know all 5. And then understand the 8th Amendment. No, people hardly even mention the 8th Amendment, but it is so powerful because it says no cruel and unusual punishment and no excessive fines or bail. Folks, our governments do violate that every single day.
That's right. I mean, the most glaring example would be J6, in my opinion.
J6 is a huge one. And we talk about J6 in the book. And so, folks, right now, our governments law enforcement officers and agencies have been weaponized against anyone that disagrees with a party platform,
Right.
or what they're trying to do. And they'll go after you. And they have already said when they gain power, there's been several big time Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries being one of them. We're coming after you when we get back in power.
Right. Of course. Oh, no, they're laying it out there. They're absolutely laying it out there. What gives you hope right now?
Well, I almost said you do, just a knee-jerk reaction. And in a way, I really believe that. And I'm not saying just you. The people like you, people that have dedicated their lives to the cause of liberty. I know you have. I know I have. And are we really there? Are we doing any good? And so when I go to our meetings, when I've gone to your meetings, when I've heard you speak, when I've heard the freedom tours, when I give my entire class, people will come up and tell me, that's the first time I've had hope in a long time.
Yeah.
Folks, that's the most valuable commodity in the freedom movement in America. There is hope.
There is.
There really is. But you've got to make it. Hope doesn't just come because you're sitting on the couch watching the Super Bowl. Fine. You want to do that? Fine. But after it's over, get back to work. And
That's right.
You really know how much you're dedicated to a cause by how much time you spend in it or how much you donate to it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Where can folks get a copy of your book and learn more about the work that you're doing, especially at CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association?
Well, everybody can be a member of the CSPOA. Everybody. Okay. Because your sheriff reports to you, you need to be part of this organization that helps direct him. Okay. So folks, the book and your membership in the CSPOA or donations to the CSPOA can be made at cspoa.org. C, S as in Sam, P as in Paul, O-A, cspoa.org. Then if you just want to see the book and what you're showing right there, that's available also on our website. So you can see both right there, or go to the website dedicated to the book, murderofamerica.com. All one word, murderofamerica.com. So get involved with us. Be part of the solution. We represent the solution at CSPOA, and we represent the solution in this most amazing book that you should be passing out. I'll tell you what, folks, get 3 of them, and the hard copy of the book, the paperback just came out today. I have them waiting for me. I'm going to the JBS convention this weekend in Salt Lake City. We're going to see how well the book does there.
Great.
We pray, folks, that you'll get copies. You can get the ebook right now, and if you want to order the copy of the paperback copy, probably be on our website today or tomorrow.
Great. All right. For final words, I want you, frankly, Sheriff Mack, to speak directly to the sheriffs, deputies, parents, pastors, and citizens watching this right now. What is their duty in this moment?
Well, I think the one quote from the book that really got to me is the only accomplishment the Democrat Party have achieved is a new level of degeneracy. And that's our America. We've turned it over to the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Folks, we've got to recognize the evil that is going on around us, and we've got to join together and provide a solution, a peaceful and effective solution. And I will quote the Founding Fathers' last line of the Declaration of Independence. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and sacred honor. Our lives, our fortunes, and sacred honor. We must do likewise today. And folks, this solution is peaceful and effective, but we've got to be a part of it. We've got to get involved. You've got to do something here. Get the book and let's do this together.
Wonderful. Sheriff Richard Mack, thank you so much for joining me today. I certainly appreciate all the work you've done. You have been one of the stalwart freedom fighters, constitutionalists I've known in this movement for quite some time that is leading the charge. And you do it showing peace and love of your fellow human being, your fellow man. But you stand grounded in the roots and the rights and the protections from our Constitution, but as our rights granted to us by God Almighty, who put us here. And He didn't put us here to get tangled up in statutory, made-up administrative law. He put us here to be the law of the land. And you, sir, are that. And thank you so much for everything that you do for our country.
Thanks, Ann. It's always great to be with you. You're a good friend, and I really admire you. And thank you for all you do.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. What you heard this afternoon should not leave you hopeless. It should leave you focused. There's a difference. Hopeless people complain. Focused people organize. Hopeless people will just doom scroll all day. You know how that goes. Instead of doom scrolling, that's when I head over to Instagram and follow some Animal Planet channels because they're just happy. But focused people, you guys know who you are. You guys are the ones that go out and collect evidence. There's a lot we can do. We can basically take that next lawful step. And this is where we are now. The geoengineering fight is entering a new phase. The old phase was awareness. People looked up, they took pictures, they asked questions, they got mocked, they got called names. They were told it was all normal. They were told not to trust their own eyes. But the new phase is different. The new phase is evidence. The new phase is litigation, state legislation, and calling it what it is, a public nuisance. The new phase is atmospheric testing. The new phase for us, subpoenas, FOIA requests, expert witnesses, citizen suits, attorney general investigations, county level action, and public pressure that does not go away. And let me say this clearly. The atmosphere is not a playground for the technocrats. The sky isn't a lab for billionaires. And Florida, my beautiful sunshine state, is not a test site. America is not a sacrifice zone, and humanity is not a population of lab rats waiting for unelected climate managers to decide how much sunlight we're allowed to receive. The people have a right to informed consents. The state, all of them, in fact, have a right to defend their natural resources. Farmers have a right to protect their crops, and parents have a right to know what their children are breathing. Property owners have a right to enjoy their land, and citizens have a right to demand that any person, corporation, agency, contractor, university, foreign-linked entity, or public-private partnership altering the atmosphere be identified and held accountable. This is why the geofight.com matters. This is why a legal strategy matters. And this is why we need serious evidence. And this is why we can't allow the issue to be trapped between mockery on one side and hyperbole on the other. We don't need to exaggerate anything. All we need is the truth, and the truth needs just a little bit of courage, documentation, discipline, and some funding. So please go to thegeofight.com and donate what you can. Those folks are doing a lot more work than even I am being advised on. I just know because getting a hold of any of them is like, not exactly shooting fish in a barrel. You got to wait your turn because they're incredibly busy, but they're doing the work that's necessary. Somebody has to take this Goliath on. But you know what else they need? They need you. They need citizens who are willing to stand up and say, no more secret science, no more atmospheric experiments without consent, no more hiding behind some soft gobbledygook language like climate intervention while the people are left in the dark. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Go to thegeofight.com, learn what they're doing, sign the petition, share the information, send it to your state lawmakers, send it to your sheriff, send it to your county commissioners, your attorney general, and ask just one simple question. What are you doing to protect our sky? Because this isn't just about what's above us. It's about what kind of people are beneath it. We will submit to be managed, engineered, manipulated. I say no. We're going to be the people that will defend the natural order that God gave us, the rights secured by our Constitution, the lawful remedies available to free people. I know where I stand. I stand for clean air. I stand for sunlight. I stand for informed consent, state sovereignty, lawful remedy, and I stand with every single one of you American people who still has the courage to look up and say, the sky belongs to God, not globalists. I'm Ann Vandersteel, and thank you for watching.